It's time once again for another edition of Talk to Me. And now, here's Emmy himself, 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, Maynard Eaton.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maynard Eaton, and this is Talk to Me. This week, our focus is on the World Series in Atlanta. Also, our guest is Sam Crenshaw, one of the top sports and news reporters in the city of Atlanta. As we speak, Sam, thank you for joining us. But as we speak, the second game of the World Series is being played right now. I keep saying All-Star game, Sam, because the All-Star game got kicked out of Atlanta, did it not?
Yeah, it did. And a lot of people were upset about that. At the Friday that it happened, I sent a friend of mine over there. I said, look, go over there and grab me a hat and a T-shirt over the Battery outside of Truist Park. And an hour later, they couldn't buy anything. I have a hat and a shirt from the All-Star game in Atlanta that did not happen. Major League Baseball shut it all down and said, don't sell another shirt, don't sell another hat. They pulled everything out, and a lot of people were upset. Some things the governor did, and, he wanted to blame baseball. Baseball said, well, it's not our job to help get you reelected. And so they took the game out to Colorado. And the thing that hurt more than anything was that the game was they're going to honor the memory of Hank Aaron. Yeah. The Braves have played this entire season with the number 44 branded into center field to honor his greatest player, the legend, and our hero here in Atlanta, our hero here in town. And wouldn't you know it, they're getting a way to honor him in the greatest possible way by playing for a championship and having a manager with the Braves that Hank Aaron hired and a manager with the Houston Astros that Hank Aaron mentored. The man who was in the on-deck circle when he hit 715 is Dusty Baker. And so I'm looking forward when they come back here because, Dusty still goes to the old places. When he comes to town, he goes to Busy Bee. He goes to Beautiful Restaurant. He goes to Pascal. He don't go to that new stuff. So I already texted him. I said, when you come to town, let me know. I'll meet you at the Beautiful because that's what he does when he comes. Atlanta was very good to him. And to me, that's the backdrop of this story. He did not want to come to the Braves at the time they drafted him. In the 60s, he had heard all the negative stuff. He had seen the dogs in the streets and the fire hoses in Birmingham. And they flew him in. If you talk with Andrew Young, he'll tell you about the Sunday. They flew Dusty Baker and his mother here from L.A., and they went out to Hank Aaron's house, along with Bill Lucas, the late Bill Lucas, who was the first black general manager of baseball here with the Braves. And, Andrew Young was there, and, Dr. Ralph David Abernathy, Joseph Lowry, Jose Williams, Benjamin Mays. And they assured him that Atlanta was a different place. They said that Atlanta was not Birmingham. Atlanta was not Jackson, Mississippi. Atlanta was not Memphis, Tennessee. And he came here and found out that
this was before he started playing for Atlanta? I didn't know that.
This is before he played for Atlanta. He did not want the Braves to draft him. He knew he was going to be highly drafted, and he knew the Braves were not very good. And so chances are they were going to pick him. And he was hoping that the Braves would not pick him. He did not want to come to the South. He's an L.A. native. And he just, the things that he had seen from the South, the George Wallaces and the Lester Maddocks, he wanted no part of. But he came.
And now he's back. And now he's back.
He's coming back as the manager of the Houston Astros, and in the memory of someone who was first a teammate, but a mentor and a lifelong friend. This is a very special World Series, Maynard.
As a journalist, as a sports reporter, you've covered many, many stories. You just recounted things I didn't even know. What does this mean to you? What does this say to you? What's the story you want to write and tell?
My goodness. First of all, it's 1999 was the last time the Braves were in the World Series. Yes. So much has happened since that time in this city and in this country. And even with this property where they're playing, which is outside the city of Atlanta. And, that's going to be an interesting time because I've asked many people, if this team wins the World Series, are we ready for a parade on Peachtree Street? Are we? Yeah.
Downtown Atlanta. People don't know
downtown Atlanta. And that's where it's going to be. It's not going to be on the square in Marietta. Not if you're the Atlanta Braves. And I applaud, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms for doing some things to go out because her predecessor was dyed in the wool, opposed everything, and was really angry with the Braves for their departure from the city. This is all kind of a backdrop, and nobody's talking about it now. But as we get set for an election on Tuesday,
Yes, yes.
that becomes quite interesting. The relationship between the city of Atlanta and the Atlanta Braves. So it's the timing
And the
of it
relationship
all.
between the city of Atlanta, the Braves, and politics, because politics is what ran them out of town, right?
Yes. And it was a real estate deal. It was if you've been out to the Battery out there, it's a lot about real estate and a little bit about baseball. And a whole lot of businesses. They got hotels, apartments, condos, and they got it set up so they can make money even when there's no game.
Right.
Something they probably couldn't do downtown. And Georgia State is thankful because Georgia State inherited that area. And if you ride down by that now, you see all the development that's going on. They can do it because they're a state entity and it's education based. So they can do a lot of things that a private entity could not do. So, we've repurposed our Olympic Stadium for a third time. And it's still, you know what I mean? They're playing football in there these days. But yes, there's great things. And oh, by the way, the site of the old Fulton County Stadium will be used for baseball for Georgia State. They're going to build a baseball stadium and use the Hank Aaron 715 wall that remains in that parking lot. They're going to build the field around it.
Are the glory days back, you think, for the Atlanta Braves? I mean, again, you mentioned, of course, Hank Aaron, but in 95, I think it was, didn't they have 99, they had the World Series, right? I mean,
99 was the last time they had the World Series. 99 and 95 is when they won it. That was the year before the Olympics came to town, and the man who squeezed the final out, Marquise Grissom, grew up in College Park, an Atlanta product, was playing center field that night and squeezed the final out. And oddly enough, Maynard, he is part of a black baseball revival in this area. He's a facility and he's training young people, youth baseball in College Park, off Old National. He is doing a tremendous job. He's had some of his products drafted on the major league teams. In fact, the Braves drafted one of his products, a young man out of Stockbridge High School a couple of years ago, and he is rapidly climbing up through the rankings. We're going to see him at camp next year, maybe with a chance to make this team, although the Braves added a lot of outfielders just before the trade deadline, and these are the guys who are playing so hard to get them to the World Series. Braves are going to have some questions, some things to solve when they get to training camp next year, but let's finish up this season first. Back to Marquise, though. It's a movement. It's a movement to revive the game. And this game...
That's what I was asking. Is there a revival afoot to get more blacks back in baseball?
Absolutely. And it has something to do with Hank Aaron's legacy. They do something every year, a Hank Aaron weekend, the Braves do. And they've started doing something where they bring the 44 top high school black baseball players to the Jackie Robinson training facility in Vero Beach, Florida. That's the old Dodgers training camp at Vero Beach. They bring them there, they train them out, and they pick the ones who are going to make the teams and bring them to Atlanta. They play a game at Truist Park. They're observed by the college scouts. They're observed by the pro scouts. Give these young people an opportunity to play the game of baseball and, get our folk back into the game. We've become a two-sport community of football and basketball. And some of that is out of necessity because of what's available. But some of it is economics because the idea is if you play basketball and football, you can get to the money quicker than if you play baseball. You don't want to ride that bus for 2, 3, 4 years. So they're trying to get young people back into baseball at the collegiate level as well as the professional level. LEAD, L-E-A-D, is an organization in Atlanta. Kelly and CJ Stewart, a husband and wife, and CJ is a product of Atlanta, grew up out off Bankhead, wanted to do something, played for the Cubs for a while, using baseball to get young people off the streets, first of all, young black males, get them to play the game, to stay in school, first of all, to get their high school diplomas, and some, if they want to really work hard, to get to play collegiately. It's a great organization. They have something every summer that I think deserves a lot of attention. They call a Safe at Home game, Maynard. It is inner city youth playing baseball against Atlanta Police Department. There are no umpires. You have to have trust. You got to have trust. Isn't that what's missing right now in the community? So this baseball game called Safe at Home game that LEAD does each and every summer, young inner city youth playing baseball against Atlanta Police Department. And I think it's an excellent idea. We're doing things here in Atlanta to bridge the gap and use baseball in a lot of ways to plug our young people back into this game. That we once had our own league. We never had our own football league.
Right,
We
exactly.
never had our own basketball league, but we did have our own baseball team. Parked the cars, sold the concessions, ripped the tickets, and paid the players. So you know
Chico Renfro was my man. Chico Renfro. When I first got to Atlanta, he was doing what you do, sportscaster, broadcaster. But Chico had been a Major League Baseball, and minor league baseball with the black leagues. He was a star. He was a star on camera too.
But he's one of my mentors. He's one of my mentors. He really is someone that I got to know growing up, and he told me always say room for your high school community and for your black colleges. And he was an official scorer for the Braves. That's a very important person, but he was an official scorer for Braves games.
But Hank Aaron, again, covering politics and City Hall, I didn't have the treat that you did of covering the sports that much. But Hank Aaron was a star in terms of the city's history and its political arena as well. Being around him was just magical. But I didn't realize the impact he had within the Braves organization. I honestly thought he was more ceremonial than impactful. I was wrong, wasn't I?
Wrong very much. When they made crucial decisions, a lot of them, he was in the room for many of them. And the current manager, Brian Snitker, is one who would tell him at the time of Mr. Aaron's passing, Snitker got very emotional when he spoke about it because Snitker had been this lifelong minor league player who was looking at the end of his playing career. And Hank Aaron called him in his office and told him, what do you want to do? And gave him an opportunity to start coaching on his path to being a manager. And here he is. His patience and persistence and loyalty to the Braves is being rewarded with an opportunity to manage in the World Series. But that man who wore the number 44 jersey is the man in the backdrop because he's the one who gave the sign to go ahead and hire him. Also, you know, the connection between Hank Aaron and Bill Lucas, who's his brother-in-law.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
His brother-in-law. And so to me, I hope that he gets mentioned this week as well. I know we'll talk a lot about Hank Aaron, but I hope they remember that Atlanta was your place for your first major league general manager. Only for a short period of time, he suffered the aneurysm and left us there about a year and a half after getting in position. Ted Turner, say what you will about him, he was open-minded enough and fair-minded enough to give a black man an opportunity to be the general manager of this baseball team. And, you know, that's something a lot of people who weren't here at the time don't get it. They see his name on the street and whatnot, and Bill Lucas, but they really don't know the story of how that man walked the streets of Summer Hill, promising those people that it's going to be a good thing for them. And I promise you, they moved churches and homes. And I'm sure the Braves didn't pay those churches $17 million like Arthur Blank did them churches, you know, for the Mercedes-Benz Stadium here a few years back. And so it was different.
But you know what I like about Bill Lucas? He was a quiet influence. He wasn't always in front of the camera. He didn't, hey man, you need to do this story, kind of. He was a quiet leader, but effective, very much so.
Very effective, and a baseball man. And he had touched every area in the Braves organization. From a player, he was a player until he suffered a knee injury. The Hall of Famer Joe Morgan, they were playing minor league baseball together in Texas. Joe Morgan slides in to take him out for a double play. Lucas has a knee injury and is not able to play. His goal was to play alongside his brother-in-law, with the Braves organization in Milwaukee and go north. Yet here he is when the team comes south, he gets a chance to play a different role. They were impressed by his leadership. He had been in the military, graduate of Florida A&M, brilliant man, very, very smart man. But as you said, he wouldn't debate things in the media. And that was the thing. If you remember, I won't get into his sickness and demise. But at the time, there was a player on the Braves team who was acting out his contract and things in the media. His agent had to do it in the media. Yeah. And Mr. Lucas just refused to do it that way.
I like how you say Mr. Lucas. Just that, and people said that. That's the kind of respect he got.
Yeah. He's Mr. Lucas to everybody because of what he achieved and what he accomplished with the team and within the community.
You turn on the game tonight, or when the series comes back to Atlanta, you don't see many American blacks and many African Americans. You see,
we got one. We got one that's been added to the roster, Terrence Gore. Oddly enough, he's from Macon, Georgia.
Ah,
He's a young man out of Jones County High School who was offered a scholarship to play football at the University of Georgia, but he chose baseball. And he's just been a lifelong AAA guy, come up to play the majors for a while, back and forth to AAA ball. He's 30 years old, but he's something that baseball has missed in
what's
this
that?
in this love affair with the long ball, be it the steroid era or whatever, the speed. He's a pinch
Ah,
runner. That was a position that black players always had on the baseball team
that's
that
true.
went away for the extra bullpen pitcher, the setup man to get to the setup man to get to the setup man to get to the closer. That becomes the extra pitcher. And so that guy went away. The Braves have brought back a pinch runner, some speed, which is my kind of baseball. I don't know what you played up there in Hampton, but I like
I was a
the
catcher, man. I was a catcher. I could not run, believe me.
but could you throw them out? That's the
Yeah,
thing. Could you throw them out if they tried to run because you knew that was part of your game? If a
right,
guy got on
exactly.
first base, he was going to steal. That's not a part of Major League Baseball anymore, and it's made the game so slow, and it's
Yeah,
made it so unattractive to our young people. You know, if you got somebody with speed, you're not going to use it. You're not going to give them opportunity to show it. So this man, watch for the name, Terrence Gore. We do have an African American player that they may bring up Tuki Toussaint with Morton going out with that leg injury last night. They got to find another pitcher, but Terrence Gore is on the roster for the World Series for the Braves.
Sam, you brought up something. People ask why no blacks in the game. It is slow. It is boring. I love baseball, but I don't watch it during the season. I mean, I'm watching it now because it's the end of the season, it's the climax of the season. What's it going to take to bring baseball back to the levels that the NBA and Major League Football? You think they'll
Well,
ever
well,
get back to that?
it can, but you got to let people know that it's a priority. It's become a very expensive sport,
Yeah,
very pricey. And people, but all youth sports become pricey. But if you want to compete at the highest level and go out here to Marietta, which is seem to be the proving ground out there at East Cobb, it costs a lot of money to be on those teams and be a part of that. And those kids play year round.
yeah.
They don't play football during football season or basketball during basketball season. It's all baseball all the time. But like I said, I think a movement is afoot here in town. We've got a number of young people. We got a number of baseball players from the area. We got Jason Hayward with the Cubs. And we got Dexter Fowler with the Angels, came out of Milton High School. Nico Goodrum, a young man from down in Fayette County, is on the team. Daz Cameron, his dad, Mike Cameron, who played for Seattle Mariners. He's playing for the Detroit Tigers. And we had Kyle Lewis, the American League Rookie of the Year with the Seattle Mariners last year. Last year was the first time they had black Rookie of the Years with National League, American League since Dwight Gooden. You know how long ago that was?
Wow, wow. I was even young then.
It's a shame that it's been that long, but baseball has a lot to blame for it. Baseball refused to embrace a culture change in the late 80s and 90s. They didn't want that kind of music in their locker room. They didn't want that type thing. And after Deion Sanders left the Braves were a silent clubhouse. No music, nothing. It's like going to the doctor's office. And, that's how it was. And so, we like to have a little something when we get ready to play. We like to get something to get us going in a vibe and whatnot. If you go up to the Falcons, you're going to hear it. You go over to the Hawks, you're going to hear it. If you go to Atlanta United, you're going to hear it. That's a soccer team. So, but the Braves played with a silent clubhouse.
Sam, could you tell those stories like you just sharing right now? Could you tell those stories back in the day? Was that a story you could share?
Yeah, if we could share, but it's just that's what they did. The Braves call it having a business-like clubhouse.
Yeah.
So what you doing? You come in with a briefcase to play a baseball game, and some people say that might be some of the reasons why they didn't win more World Series than they did. Your pitchers were your leaders. It wasn't an on the field everyday guy. Should have been a Terry Pendleton. He to me would have been an excellent guy for that. And TP's a great guy. He's still with the Braves as a scout. He passed up on some chances to become a manager. There were some teams that were looking at him at one time to manage, but he loved Atlanta. He liked being with the Braves. It was a good move for his family. But he's very highly regarded, and I'm kind of disappointed he didn't take a chance to be a manager. I think Terry Pendleton would have been an excellent Major League manager.
Sam, you sound like you compiling all the information for a book. You sound like you really know what's happened in Major League Baseball. Is that on the horizon? And is baseball your favorite sport to write about?
Growing up baseball, obviously, because that was the game. You remember, the Ebony magazine with lists. We would come out with each year doing pre-baseball season, and you wanted to get that issue of Ebony where they
Yeah,
did all the pictures of all the black players on each team. And you wanted to get that issue of Ebony magazine.
that's
That's
true.
what the game. That's what the game meant. I told somebody today. I was talking with Sean Elliott, the football coach at Georgia State, and I said he's in the World Series. I said, Coach, let me come over sometime and tell you. A native of Birmingham, my dad felt it very important in 1966 when the Braves arrived to get me in a car with a couple of our neighbors, and we drove over to see the Dodgers play the Braves one Sunday afternoon. And Sandy Koufax, the immortal Sandy Koufax, was pitching for the Dodgers, and there were tears in Fulton County Stadium that day because Koufax was no joke. He was mowing them down, man. I was like, and I was watching the Braves and pulling for the Braves, but man, that guy was incredible. It was incredible to watch that team play. But I think baseball is something that I enjoy, covering. I've been covered a lot of spring training camps and whatnot. So you like what's important to the people in your community that you serve. Football has been great. There's awful lot of passion about that. But I think our community could be a better community. We play all sports. Get our talent into different sports and participate in them. The only thing that holds us back is lack of exposure. Ask Venus and Serena Williams. They could have run track and played basketball like the rest of the girls, but they got exposed to something else. You know what I mean? So I'm very much for our young people with their athletic ability and the things that are available to them today to use those things. And I just I love telling the stories about them and their achievements on and off the playing field.
Sam, as a veteran journalist, I'll ask you one last question. You say it so effortlessly, so easily, but you had to jump through some hurdles too to tell these stories. You weren't just allowed to go tell them. You had to climb a ladder of your own success to be able to express the success of others. Am I correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know all about that. You traveled that road before me, and so I owe you for that. But you know what you want to do. You know what's inside of you. You position yourself, and that's what I tell young people. It's something you want to do. You get around it, and you position yourself. But just like when you want to go in the game, make sure when the coach calls you that your shoes are tied.
You ready?
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's the worst thing can happen. Coach say, get in the game and your shoes ain't tied. So you want to be ready and just prepare yourself. And that's what I tell young people who want to get into our profession or anything they want to do. Prepare yourself and get around it and let somebody know. People don't always know what you want to do. You gotta let people know.
Man, what a thrill. What a thrill. Look at that smile. Plus you got a smile to go with a talent. Sam Crenshaw, one of the best sports journalists I've ever met. He happens to be in Atlanta. He happens to be a friend, but his brother's good. Sam, thank you so much. And I'm envious because you'll be at the World Series covering it, I'm sure.
I'll get out there for a game probably on Sunday. I'll probably go to the game Sunday, but I want to get out there and be a part of it and feel it. It's an amazing time. And this team is an amazing story. They've had to overcome a lot of injuries, a lot of setbacks. They lost one player due to domestic issue. So, they have a lot of hurdles to cover. So to me, this team is a tremendous story. They do play with a lot of heart, but I think it's the ultimate way to honor number 44. I think it's a very fitting way to honor him this year. So that's the thing that excites me most.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Crenshaw and the Atlanta Braves in the World Series. See you next week. This has been Talk to Me. Take care. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.